Well, first of all, I totally agree that we are in a sweet spot, generally speaking. And then the situation differs from country to country. If you look at my country, I mean, we expect to bring employment to an all-time high record this year. Very low unemployment. We have regained growth. But in some, especially perhaps Southern European countries, you still see problems linked to youth employment. And that's why I always advocating labor market reforms. The Danish model of flexicurity. I know that the new French president has been inspired from the Scandinavian model. Security for the labor force and flexibility for the companies. Because if we introduce that system, you could decrease the structural unemployment rate.
I know you are here specifically to really push forward this sustainable development. When you look broadly at the Danish economy, how big of a growth driver do you anticipate that to be?
It's a huge growth driver. I mean, if you look at our figures in terms of the export, lots of it is linked to our competences in this idea of greening the global economy, in wastewater management, renewables, windmills, etc., etc. And I had the honor to chair the UN General Assembly when we adopted the SDGs. And I participated, of course, in the Paris summit where we agreed on the Paris Agreement. And if we should meet these targets, it comes with a huge price tag, but also with a big business opportunity. Many jobs in Danish industry is linked to this. And that's why we try to export this concept. We have just announced a couple of months ago a new initiative called P4G, Partnering for Global Growth and Green Growth. We have brought on board 7 different countries, among them South Korea, Ethiopia, Mexico. I'm going to meet with Colombia today. We just signed a memorandum of understanding with WEF. They will join this initiative together with the C40 initiative, the 92 biggest cities in the world. And the idea is to promote partnerships between the public and private sector in order to meet the SDGs and creating jobs at the same time.
Let me shift gears here to talk about the refugee crisis in Europe, because Denmark is one of those countries that has really tightened its borders over the last several years. And it does look like it is discouraging asylum seekers from coming. I'm looking at the most recent numbers. Asylum requests down 84% in the last 2 years. Broadly speaking, do you think the refugee crisis is an issue that should be shouldered by all European countries? Or do you think this is something that needs to be dealt unilaterally from country to country?
No, it should be solved in solidarity among the European countries. And that's why I have been advocating from the very first beginning that we should protect our external borders, and then we should fight root causes. It's true that we have brought our numbers down to the lowest we have seen for the last 9 years, but that has already also given us the opportunity to expand our activities in Africa. So we have now the biggest aid budget we have ever had in terms of humanitarian assistance. And what Europe is doing right now is that we are trying to establish a partnership with certain African countries because we need a more for more attitude where we invest more in Africa, so we give a hope for the future for the youngsters. We should invest in infrastructure, we should invest in good governance, we should bring a hope for the future. And then we should ask these countries to accept the return of their own citizens if they move to Europe without, any permission to move to Europe.
I wonder, though, broadly speaking, I mean, I know you've heard this criticism before, but exactly about how Denmark has dealt with this issue. We're looking at 67 regulations, one of the more controversial ones, seizing some of the assets of refugees who are coming in. I wonder if you think there's a more humane way to deal with this specific issue.
We are dealing with it in a very humane way. I think there was a lot of misunderstandings linked to this initiative. And I think a lot of the misunderstanding is due to people not really understand the Scandinavian society model, because our model differs a lot from the American model, for instance. I mean, we pay very high taxes, but then at the same time you have access to free kindergartens, free education, free healthcare system, etc., etc. But it's based on some kind of, contract between citizens and the society. You offer your workforce to you work to the society, and then in return you receive all this, and that model is challenged if we receive too many without the necessary skills to actually be active citizens. So that's why I have done a lot to decrease the number, but then at the same time I have made tripartite agreements in Denmark with the social partners so that our business community are more willing to accept refugees in the companies. So we have tripled the number of refugees who earn their own money in Denmark after spending 3 years in Denmark compared to the situation 2 years ago. So I think there's no easy solution to this. We have to bring down the numbers. We have to invest much more in Africa. And I'm proud to say that Denmark is among very few countries in the world, I guess 5 or 6, who meet the UN criteria when it comes to aid assistance.
Hey there, thanks for checking out CNBC on YouTube. Be sure to subscribe to stay up to date on all of the day's biggest stories. You can also click on any of the videos around me to watch the latest from CNBC. Thanks for watching.